Sadhguru is a realized master, yogi, and a profound mystic of our times. His work is an outpouring of his blissfulness that finds expression in the form of uninhibited compassion, love, and a ceaseless offering to help all beings. Belonging to no particular tradition, Sadhguru incorporates what is most valid for the modern seeker from the spiritual sciences. From his powerful yoga programs for inner transformation to his inspiring projects for society and the environment, Sadhguru's work is an endeavor to create an inclusive culture that is the basis for global harmony and progress. His public satsangs and programs draw hundreds of thousands of people from all walks of life, creating a huge spiritual wave in each city. These classes provide individuals with the tools to optimize all aspects of health, inner growth, and success. Available to all who are willing, Sadhguru's life is an invitation to the divine through individual transformation. Sadhguru works with the world's preeminent leaders and institutions to foster peace, global understanding, and international cooperation. He has addressed a number of prestigious international forums and has conducted special programs for various groups and corporations to instill an inner balance which empowers one to effectively handle external situations.
Prasoon Joshi is a name synonymous with a new era of creativity in India. Through the many disciplines of creativity he excels in, he has touched millions of lives with his words, ideas, thoughts, and sheer craft. His culturally rich and insightful work in the field and Asia on the international stage. He has won more than 400 awards and has also been designated a young global leader by World Economic Forum. He has also chaired prestigious international juries in festivals like Cannes. But today, he is also well renowned for his unparalleled work in the world of poetry, songwriting, and cinema. Considered a torchbearer of the young breed of writer-poets, Prasoon has emerged as one of the most talented and evocative voices in the country in the last decade. One that has kept the flame of poetry alive with his fourth book of poetic song collection and has helped establish a connect with a new generation. He was one of the few young writers who had his first book of prose published when he was just 17 years of age. Lives with his words, an award for his contribution to the Hindi language and literature, given to him in a ceremony in the House of Lords in London. He then went on to chart new courses. In a very short span of time, Prasoon has proved wrong many of those who lamented the decline in quality and lack of taste in poetry amongst the new generation. Through his songs in mainstream films like Rang De Basanti, Tare Zameen Par, Delhi 6, and very recently Bhaag Milkha Bhaag, he not only made the nation's youth fall in love with his work, but he has also made the connoisseurs stand up and applaud. Prasoon did have a tough task on hand, with a rapidly changing taste of young India and its shrinking vocabulary. However, he not only wrote path-breaking songs, but also constantly wrote poetry on social issues. His poem, post the terrorist attack in Mumbai, Is Baar Nahi, became the nation's outcry.
इस बार नहीं इस बार जब वो छोटी सी बच्ची मेरे पास अपनी खरोंच लेकर आएगी, मैं उसे फू फू कर नहीं बहलाऊंगा।
Lives with his words, ideas.
इस बार नहीं।
Thus he has kept alive the tradition and ethos of poets, who have not only utilized poetry to soothe the soul, but also to awaken and propel mass consciousness. No Indian can ever forget Prasoon's song, Tujhe Sab Hai Pata Hai Na Maa, from Tare Zami Par, a song that left every mother in the country teary-eyed. और अभी अभी हुआ यकीन कि आग है मुझ में कहीं रूबरू, from Rang De Basanti, that inspired the young generation. Prasoon's work in Bhag Milkha Bhag, of which he has written the script, screenplay, dialogues and songs, has won critical acclaim in many hearts. Prasoon was awarded Indian of the Year by NDTV for his creations. He has been the recipient of many honors for his artistic work, including filmfares, Screen, IFA, and the coveted National Award from the President of India. His other masterpieces like Masak Ali, Genda Phool, Chand Sifarish, Hum Tum, Maula, Dil Gira Kahin Pe Daftan, lives with his words, I, or his non-film work, Ab Ke Sawan, Sikho Na, or Man Ke Manjeere, holds a special place in the heart of poetry and music lovers. Prasoon Joshi is a unique writer-poet who has displayed sensitivity and excellence on key social and national issues.
कुछ कर गुजरने को खून चला खो न जाए ये तारे ज़मीं पर सत्य में बजते जिंदा है तो प्याला पूरा भर दे।
देखो जरा ठहर के, मेरा देश रो रहा है। मेरा देश, मेरा देश।
कुपोषण बच्चों के शरीर और दिमाग दोनों को ही जिंदगी भर के लिए कमजोर बना देता है, और जब बच्चे ही मजबूत नहीं होंगे तो देश कैसे मजबूत होगा। तो आइए मिलकर इस खतरनाक दुश्मन के खिलाफ एक जंग छेड़े।
उठ कर करने हैं कुछ काम, रघुपति राघव राजा रघुपति राघव राजा राम, उठ कर करने हैं कुछ काम।
They can look forward to more path-breaking work from this extremely talented new generation writer-poet.
In September 2012, Prasoon Joshi met Sadhguru in Kashi to explore the intricate science behind the City of Light. In a walk around the city, Sadhguru reveals the most mystical aspects of Kashi.
What would you define death as?
It is a fiction of the ignorant, created by the ignorant. There's no such thing as death. There's just life, life and life, moving from one dimension to another.
More such questions led to this conversation, which explores the mysteries of death.
Good evening to everyone. I think it's an honor to be talking with Sadhguru. This subject, which is, it's quite strange that the first poem I ever wrote in my life, when I didn't even understand what I was writing, was about death. And then we explored together in Kashi, and Sadhguru enlightened me with a lot of aspects which I never thought about. And after that, we lost someone in the family, and more questions started coming around it. I will start with that poem.
This is the old first one?
This is my first poem.
That's nice. This is a treat
And
for
it's
everybody.
quite a coincidence. And the thought is in the kind of Hindi I used to write then. So a lot of things, probably my mother used to call me Kathin Kavya Ka Pret. So those days I used to feel pride in using words which nobody will understand. So I will explain it to you. Basically, the thought is, apalak is when you don't blink. So when you look at something beautiful, you become apalak. Palak nahi lagti aapki. When you die, you don't blink. What have you looked at? Is death so beautiful that you never blink after that? अपलक निहारना सौंदर्य को अनुभूति का द्योतक बन जाता है। अपलक निहारना सौंदर्य को अनुभूति का द्योतक बन जाता है। अपलक ही हो जाता है मनुष्य जब करता है आलिंगन मृत्यु का। तब कौन सी अनुभूति होती है उसे, जिस अनुभूति से वो कभी वापस नहीं लौटता। सदगुरु, why is death always portrayed as dark, sinister? Why is there heaviness? Why is so much fear attached to it? I know you have called it somewhere cosmic joke. But most of the civilizations, whether it's Egyptian, ancient Jew, Indian, barring a few civilizations, I've seen, and I think probably somewhere Osho tried to celebrate death. But if you look at mostly the civilizations, ancient civilizations, all have some sort of heaviness, and even the symbols, if you see, Yamraj as a symbol, if you see, or you see the Grim Reaper, you see there is some heaviness and darkness and certain kind of imagery which comes with death. Why is it so, Sadhguru?
If we look at how we have perceived and portrayed death in this part of the world, you will see that death is not seen as sinister. But the dark patch of the death is for the living, that there is a loss. Loss is always a dark thing, whether it's small things or big things. People break down when they lose something that's precious to them. It could be things, it could be people, it could be many things, you know. So, the darkness is only concerned with the living, about the death. But the death itself, in this culture particularly, always been portrayed as a grand event. It's only now that Indians are imitating the West and walking with faces held down. Otherwise, even today it is there. When people die, we wear white clothes, not dark clothes. There is a certain science behind that, I'll look at that later. Above all, there are wonderful stories. The legend goes like this. Shiva is always waiting at the Mahasmashan. He's made that his abode because he's waiting. And every time somebody dies, he dances in celebration. What kind of a pervert can he be? That somebody dear to me is dead and he will dance and celebrate. Let's look at the fundamental aspect of what life is, because they're not two different things. What we call as life right now, in the experience of most human beings, is just the body that they have accumulated and a certain amount of thought and emotion that they have accumulated around themselves. It's very clear to any human being who pays a little attention to the nature of his life, that he can clearly see that body is an accumulation, the psychological structure is also an accumulation. Now, beyond these things, there is life. So what you call as life is, when you were children, I'm sure you definitely did blow some soap bubbles. When you blew a soap bubble, the bubble was real. But what was inside the bubble is just the atmosphere all over. When the bubble burst, one drop of the soap water fell on the floor, rest of the whole content of the bubble, where it went, you can never see because it's just… never was, because it's just a part of everything. This is the nature of life. The whole cosmos is a living mass of life. You built a bubble. When the bubble burst, and for those… if somebody has a perspective of the other aspect or the other side, let's look at life and death like this. You're in this side of the wall, somebody else is on the other side of the wall. When the bubble burst and this air which was… or this life which was trapped in this bubble became released, and what's happening on the other side is way bigger than what can happen within the trap of physicality. So he is laughing, singing and dancing because one life got released from the mortal coil as it has always been described.
Sadhguru, the fact that somebody has gone and this calamity or whatever you call it has happened, is it a conditioning that we have to perceive it that in such a big way, such a big event? I remember there was a death in the family and an old dead woman had died. And I'd gone there and there was a kid playing. And I told you about this earlier, that a child was playing with a dinky car. And very naturally, while he was playing with the car, it went over that body, dead body. When people pulled him, he started playing like it's a thing lying there.
Such things happen on Mumbai street also.
No, but the child had no registration of that. Is the registration learnt? Is the registration a conditioning?
See, the death being seen as a tragedy is physiologically, psychologically, emotionally and socially a reality. Existentially, it's not a reality. A child is an offspring of life. He's not yet a slave of social conditioning, so he will even play with the dead, it wouldn't matter. But adults will try to condition the child because they feel it's inappropriate, something has been lost. Or above all, when somebody dies, you think it's the end of the world, actually. If somebody is very dear to you, in your thought, in your emotion, most people would actually feel that it's the end of the world. But after some time, they come around. Now the child doesn't take that time lag, he comes around quickly because he's not so influenced by what's happening in the society. This is purely psychological and emotional structure. When I say psychological and emotional structure, it's our making. We could make it whichever way we want. And you will see in this country, when somebody dies, maybe all the so-called educated people have given it up, but if somebody dies in the slum, they'll beat the drum and they're having a party. I'm not trying to belittle the loss that a person goes through, but all psychological factors, your thoughts, your emotions and social opinions and situations are only relevant to a certain point. Beyond that, existentially, what you think, what you feel, what your society thinks are absolutely irrelevant. That is why we always positioned one who we consider as the highest on the edge, he's always on the cremation ground. This is how every yogi starts his life. Today, those who are seriously on the path, we always send them to the cremation ground to spend a certain amount of time, because mortality has to sink into you. You must understand the essential nature of your life. Only when you realize you're mortal, the longing to know beyond will arise. If you think of God, you will not become spiritual. Actually, you could become very stupid. You will try to think that by… you could do idiotic things in your life. With a prayer, everything will be fixed. You don't do your job properly, but you think there will be a result. You don't study for your exam and you think you're coming first class because of your prayer. All kinds of idiotic things will happen. But the moment you address the mortal nature of who you are, the longing to know what this is all about, wanting to know what is beyond this thing that people are here, real, and tomorrow morning, poof, suddenly absent. What is beyond this? Wanting to know this will become a natural quest, and that is the spiritual process.
But Sadhguru, the mortality, if you're told that you only 6 months left, one has seen, if one is told that you have 6 months left or 1 year left, suddenly there is a change in behavior of the human beings. They start prioritizing a lot of things, and a lot of changes happen. But don't we actually know we are mortals? Don't we actually know that we have limited times, but we still don't want to believe that we have limited time? Why does a human being behave as if… is it a denial of a kind? Unless you are definitely by medical science told that now your time starts.
The time has already started, the clock is on. If you want a prediction for all of you when you will die, I can tell you, somewhere little less than 100 years, all of you will die. The clock is already on, but it needs a doctor's warrant or a judge, this The nature and the creation and the creator have already told you, but you still don't believe it, or you have not paid enough attention to it. It's like this. One day, a bishop, a Catholic bishop, and a judge met on the golf course. A judge is playing golf, Catholic bishop is sneaking the game, that he is not supposed to do these frivolous things, but he's playing, he likes it. So, but he was feeling little uncomfortable because the judge hits the ball straight. His ball, with God's grace, goes in every direction. So he said, what is so big about your profession? You're a judge. At the most, what can you say? You can say, may you be hanged. But I can say, may you be damned. So the judge paid attention to the ball, took a good shot, and then he looked at him and said, when I say be hanged, they hang.
Sadhguru, the way we treat bodies after death, there are a lot of rituals around it. On one hand, we keep hearing that this is a transition, this was a body you were in and it is meaningless after that, it has no meaning. The Atman has left the body. Why do we have so many rituals around that body? I'll just recite, try to insert a little bit of poetry in this so that, because the questions in this subject are not actually sufficient to convey a lot of things. But since one has encountered death and one has tried to capture this here, it's about the cage and the bird has flown away. And you are looking at the empty cage. That's the scene in your head. पंछी उड़ गया, पिंजरा खाली। पंछी उड़ गया, पिंजरा खाली, तार तार एकाकी सितार, छेड़ो तो सन्नाटा, काटो तो खून नहीं। पंछी उड़ गया, पिंजरा खाली, तार तार, एकाकी सितार, छेड़ो तो सन्नाटा, काटो तो खून नहीं। कसो तो टूटने की ध्वनि, अब लकड़ी है, अब लोहा है, पर फिर भी लकड़ी को स्पर्श करता है मन, लकड़ी को स्पर्श करता है मन। कभी सम्मान, कभी प्रेम, कभी वितृष्णा। सामने बाहें खोले खड़ा आकाश सत्य बता चुका है। सामने बाहें खोले खड़ा आकाश सत्य बता चुका है। उस आसमान में विलीन हो चुकी है एक उड़ान। पिंजरे में नहीं है अब चिड़ैया की फुदक, फिर भी आंखें ताकती हैं खाली पिंजरे को। स्मृति कोश डबडबा जाते हैं, कुछ भाव कलश छलक जाते हैं।
I am not that good with the language, you have to tell
So
me.
that's the reason I explained that this is about the cage. It's about the emptiness of it, and still a desire to look at it. The whole family, the people, look at that as if somehow life will come back. And then we have rituals around it. How is it? Why do you treat bodies in various culture the way they treat? You know more about it. In any culture I've gone to, I've seen bodies have been treated in a special way. What is the reason for that? And if you can also talk about disembodied beings in this context, a lot of questions around that people have, requested me to ask, something which is never dwelled upon, and I know it's a little difficult subject to deal with, but I think everybody deals with this body and facing the dead body in front of you.
See, to understand why there is a certain process as to how you treat the body beyond dropping it. As you earlier mentioned, on another level people are talking about how once a life has exited the body, it means nothing, it's just mud.
Yes.
The reason is this: as life does not engage with the body just like that, it happens as a process. When a woman or a mother conceives, two little cells coming together then becomes a meatball, literally. For this meatball to become alive, it is somewhere between 40 to 48 days after conception that the life process enters. Let us understand what is life process. The life process, the life is there in the mother's body also. So where does it have to enter? Those of you who have two children, you would have noticed this, otherwise you might have noticed with others. Even on the day the infant is born, even on that day, between one child and other, characteristically they're very different. The way they move their hands, the way they make noises, the way they pay attention, it's very different. Same parentage, same genetics, same everything, but they're very different. Have you noticed this? Because the information package that is entered, that particular piece of life is always unique, never the same as the other. This may make you write poetry at the age of what? 17. So, somebody else wouldn't have thought about poetry. Some of these things may happen because of exposure, but nobody can deny that human beings do things out of innate capabilities everywhere across the planet, there's no question about that. Now, this life process is happening and one day death happens. What is this death? Why does it happen? The information package, which in traditional terms we call as karmic body, or it's called a sanchita, a large package of information. Let's not go to where it came from and all that, it'll lead us to a different place, but distinctly you can find out if you observe just born two children, obviously the input that has gone into them is different. Every mother would know it, every person who works in a hospital or a maternity home would definitely know it, because every day observing children born, distinctly different, always, even if they come of the same parents. This package has two different dimensions. One is called a sanchita, which is a warehouse of karma, huge information. Where does this information come right now? How do we generate this information? There are five senses: seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting, touching. Every moment of our life, this is gathering input. For example, if you walk from here to here, I'm saying if you walk 10 meters, there will be 25 different kind of smells. Most of them you will not notice in normal course of observation. Only if it's acute, either it's too pleasant or too unpleasant, you will notice it. All the mild things you will not notice, but all this is recorded. Every sight, every small inflection, every sound, everything is recorded. Suppose you're sleeping, fast asleep, I will come and speak in a language that you will not understand. Above all, you're sleeping, you're completely unconscious of this. 25 years later, we can hypnotize you and make you speak all the sentences that I spoke without knowing the language, just repeating those sounds. This memory is deeply entrenched in the system. These experiments have been done and we have always known this. So, this volume of information that you're gathering in wakefulness and sleep is phenomenal. It's because of such a volume of information, so many aspects of our life happen automatically. If that information is not there, you wouldn't know how to walk, you wouldn't know how to stand, you wouldn't know how to sit. This will happen. Because of such a volume of information, it is assimilated in a certain way, it's not a conscious process, unconsciously it's happening. So this information will allot itself, which is known as prarabdha. I'm sure in the previous generation, your mothers and grandmothers, when they see you doing something unreasonable, they said, it's your prarabdha. That means it's your allotted karma, it's playing out. Because it's allotted, that part of your memory and your information is just… that part of your software is just playing out. It's not in your hands to control it, it's simply playing out. That's what they mean when they say, it's your prarabdha that you're behaving like this. Now this prarabdha runs out at a certain time depending upon how you live. There are different dimensions to this, but let's say it starts running down. When it starts running down, the software that you have for this life is slowly wearing out. Your body may be still strong and good, but software is running out. Now it becomes feeble. Once the information is become less, the life energies will become feeble. Once life energy becomes feeble, below a certain point, it will exit the body. This is considered a normal death. This is a good death. It's a good way to die, that you ran out of the software and you exited. Most people choose to die in a way that they break the body in some way and they make the body inhospitable for life, either with a car crash or a heart attack or a lung cancer or whatever. In some way, we made the body inhospitable for life, so life exits. If the life exited because it has run out of software, then this life is very feeble, there's nothing much to be done about this.
Guru, where do you think or where do you suggest where life begins? Is it in the womb? Is it when you are delivered? Is it… when does the soul enter the body?
Now you're assuming things.
Well, I've heard from whatever my learning and conditioning, as you can call.
Now I'm talking about you and me and people here. Now you're bringing an other person called soul.
Yes.
Let us use the word life because the word soul is heavily contaminated. People are finding soulmates. It's very clear, it's very, very clear. Your body needs a mate, your mind may need a mate. But the soul, if it is absolute, it definitely will not need a mate, isn't it? But so many things happen. Let's call it life.
Okay.
It's less corrupted word. So the life that you are, the person that you are is different. The person that you are is the making and molding of many things that have happened around you, the impacts that life has had on you, external life has had on you. But the life that you are, which keeps all this going, this has come with a certain information. If it runs out of the information or the software is gone, then this life exits the body because its term is over. But if its term is still on, but you break the body for some reason, now it exits. When it exits like this, now the reverberance of life is at a higher pitch. It should not have left, but it has left. Now for this life, a lot of things have to be done, otherwise you will leave it in the wild and it will go on. What would have been, let's say, if it lived in this body, maybe in another 3 years or 5 years it would complete its term. But without a physical frame, this 5 years may become 500 years. Why I'm saying this is, time matters to you only because you're physical. Right now if you sit here, now this session is for 2 hours only because you have a body. Because in 2 hours, it wants to go to the toilet, it wants to drink, it wants to eat, it wants to do so many things. Suppose you had no body, we could make this 2 centuries session, 2 millennia, what's the problem? Time is a consequence for you only because you're physical, because you gathered your physicality. If you did not gather physicality, time would mean nothing, space would mean nothing. So, when you leave the physical frame, now time and space does not mean anything. But because of this, because the reverberance is still there, it can go endlessly.
No, when you say you leave, you almost assume, and that's where probably ordinary person cannot relate with. When you say you leave, as if you have the choice to leave. You said that this life decided because of accident or whatever to leave. This life did not decide. At least the way we see our loved ones around us, we see somebody else decided, some happening decided. And well, there are other kind of deaths one hears about, the samadhi and conscious dying. Probably that's not the kind of dying this is. This is an accident. Also, I would like you to explain what is a stillborn baby? What is the lifespan of that which is stillborn? Now, where that manifestation gone? Where is that prarabdha gone?
Now, let us look at the varieties of death, the menu, death menu. Because just today morning somebody sent me a mail saying that someone has opened a death cafe in UK. So let me give you the death menu. The different ways a human being can die is, before you're out of your mother's womb, you could be aborted. Abortion is one form of death. The next is, you can call it stillbirth, it could have happened beyond a certain time. This, after conception has happened and life has entered this, somewhere between 40 to 48 days, that is when it becomes alive. I don't know what the medical opinion is. Are there any doctors here? Huh? 35 days. Okay. Okay. All right. I'm saying this from my personal experience. It's 40 to 48 days, that's a space where you enter. There are some lives which enter later. Suppose, see, this is something a woman or a mother could feel if we train her a little bit. If she sees that a life entered beyond 48 days, then you're delivering somebody truly special, because this life will take time to settle in. Some phenomenal life is on the way. You have heard somebody sees, Gautama's mother, and this man says, "You are going to deliver a phenomenal being." Somebody looks at Yashoda and says to the mother, "You're delivering a phenomenal being." This is simply because when you notice after 48 days of conception, still life has not entered, but enters a little later than that, this means you are expecting a phenomenal being to arrive. Why it is so? If I go into the intricacies, it'll take you somewhere. But normal life enters somewhere between 40 to 48 days. Now, after this, for some reason, after all, womb is a manufacturing unit of this body. For some reason, if the body did not form itself appropriately for that life or for any life, then the life chooses to exist before it's delivered. So this is a stillborn baby. Or sometimes, because of whatever compulsions, a mother may choose to abort the child. That is another form of thing. But in these things, the engagement with the body for this life truly begins somewhere approximately between 84 to 90 days is where really life gets engaged. Till then, it's foraging, it is looking if this is suitable, if this womb is the right place. This is not a conscious thing, this is an unconscious tendency-wise, it is seeing if it matches by tendencies. The appropriate word for this is, traditionally, we call this vasanas. Depending upon your vasana, you're looking for an appropriate body. So, though it is partially engaged, it can exit before 90 days, between 84 to 90 days, the life gets properly engaged. From then on, it's a proper baby. From then on, it's a proper life. After that, you should not disturb that, you must nourish it, it doesn't matter in what context it has happened. So, this life process, this is abortion, stillbirth. Next thing is, an accident can happen, it can be of any kind. That means body broke. Because the body broke, life cannot sustain itself in that body, so it exits. The next thing is suicide. Because of some extraneous situation, somebody decides to end it. The next possibility is death by occult processes. This is one of the worst ways that things can happen because it destabilizes the information match which has entrenched you in a particular system. When I say the information match, the tendencies of that particular life is seeking a match with the genetic material the parents are providing. When that match is disturbed, people will die a terrible death. Terrible for various reasons, because not only for what they may go through at that time, terrible because of the long duration that it takes to solve this issue that's happened within itself. So, death by occult processes. And the next thing is, as you already mentioned, a samadhi or a conscious way of exiting. This is the whole menu. So if you had a choice that you could die the way you want to die, would you like to live in any of these ways or consciously? Because it's the last act that you perform in your life, and you get to do it only once. You may get married 4 times, but you can only die once. So, you must do it in style, it's very important.
But Sadhguru, here when you said accident, and find the life as accident, but there are few people who go through this life support. Now, what do you call that? Is that a period the person is there? And also when you're talking about samadhi and conscious dying, one had seen in India there was a way people used to leave the place and go to a place like Kashi and will die, the preparation for death. And in today's context, how do you see that? The preparation for death or dying gracefully or going somewhere else? And, please, and so the 2 questions. One is about life support. What is the state of life in the life support?
See, the business of the doctors and the medical science should be to help the living. It's not for them to enter the realm of death. As you said, it's life support, not prevention of death, okay? So somewhere this line must be drawn. It would be fantastic if you could train medical professionals to be able to see when it is not so, but that would be a dangerous thing because misuse will happen. People will pull the plug on people who can't pay the bill or whom they don't like, you know, things will happen. So, because of that, we're just allowing it to go whichever way it goes, because if you touch it, all the consequences of it you cannot control. So you support the life only with the hope that it will recover and once again it will be back to life. Nobody is supporting it with the intention that you just want to put it on the machines and run it forever. The hope is because a few have come back after years of comatose. And the people who love them and the families, they are hoping against hope that this person will come back. And maybe a doctor is trying to assist that. Sometimes it goes to absurd levels because nobody can take the call. Nobody is able to take the call because nobody is authorized to take the call as such. So because of that, it goes to certain levels. But life support is only with the hope they will bounce back. Now, if you observe a person in comatose, there are two types of people. With one type of people, the body is refusing to respond, but their mind and emotion is active. This is torture.
Sadhguru, this is not exactly true. Sometimes the family, the people, the doctors together, all of them somehow almost sure, and I've seen such situations, that the person is not going to come back. But there is a kind of human consciousness, a kind of guilt, a kind of responsibility, a kind of love keeps the person in that state. What I wanted you to, throw light on is what is the state of this life at that point? With this, because the life is not manifesting itself through this body. And neither it has taken, if you talk about rebirth or reincarnation on another life, it has not done that. So what is the state of this life?
Above all these things that you mentioned, there is a law. If you pull the plug, there is a law for that. And that's what I was coming to. There are two conditions in this. In one condition, the body has become inert, that you're not able to get the body going. But the one who is within, the mind is active, emotion is active, all perceptions are there. This is torture because the body is refusing to move. But there are other kinds of situations, the body seems to be reasonably vibrant and active, digests food, everything is happening, but inside it's become blank. If inside has become blank, if you wait for 5 cycles of 21 days, then for sure life is gone. But body can be still kept alive because of various medical processes, you're keeping it going. Body may not dwindle because body is still strong. Without a life, you're just keeping a body alive. This is like an empty shell, but shell is kept alive. This is not a good thing to do. But if the person inside is alive, but the body is gone blank, now it's a very difficult decision for anybody to take. And for all you know, many times, all the things that you're talking, whether to pull the plug, not to pull the plug, all this the person understands. It's a very bad situation. It shouldn't happen to anybody, but when it happens, how to deal with it, there's no particular way because it's individual sensitivities. Just because the body cannot get up and the person understands everything, feels everything, you can't cut him up. Pulling the plug is as good as cutting him up, So this is a hard decision to take, there's no particular way to do it. But if only the body is vibrant, but inside has gone totally blank, 5 cycles of 21 days you can wait. After that, very comfortably you can pull the plug for 100%, it's gone.
And Sadhguru, then what is your take on euthanasia, or where do you… Because here I'm also going to come to the will, how much of will this life has and how much is it left to others. your point about euthanasia.
In my opinion, nobody has a right to hold an opinion on euthanasia, because it's your opinion, you're not making a judgment, it's not an informed judgment, it is an opinion. As I said, if life is gone but only body is there, you can pull the plug, but still, for the people around, including the doctor and the relatives and whoever that person means something to them, they see the body is good, the heart is beating good, all the parameters are good. Why would they want to pull the plug? You cannot tell them to pull the plug because they think it's on. So, I don't think…
So, if it's left with an individual, then if he wants to willingly give up life…
But the problem is not in a state to say that. He might have said it before.
Suppose he's in a state to say that, so that brings to suicide. So, do you think he has the will and the right to exercise that?
See, the simple thing that we did in this country is, if an individual decided, those who do not have the capability to smoothly exit this body without causing any damage to it, those who did not have this, they always walked away into the forest and just sat under a tree. After some time, without eating, they would just go. This is a normal vanaprastha. You heard in Mahabharata all this Kunti, all the Dhritarashtra and even the Doordarshan guy, Sanjaya, all these people went into the forest to live on dry leaf and this and that for some time and slowly dwindle the body and exit. The body begins to understand. All the creatures, most creatures do this. You must see how a cobra dies. It's unfortunate that no documentation about these things have been done. If a cobra realizes it's time to die, it will go up to some place where it will not be eaten by predators and things. Usually it'll climb up a tree and sit on one branch, and it just sits on the branch and that's it. In about 20 to 25 days, it will die. Because a cobra can easily exist, its normal meal itself is spaced out somewhere between 11 to 15 days. Because of that, beyond 20, 25 days, 30 days, it will die, so it will simply sit without eating and slowly dry up just like that. Even a creature, a crawling creature like that has this much awareness. This would be the best way to do. But even if I talk about it today, the so-called modern society which eats 5 meals a day, they will be terribly upset. So, this has been the normal process. If you are not a yogi, if you do not know how to exit, you come to a place, you sit quietly by yourself. If your relatives are around, they won't let you do that, they will stuff food into you, because our idea of love is to stuff the people with as much as we can. So, they won't let you do those things. That's why people went to some place, sat in a place where the energies are good, because being in a positive, live energy space is important, because to be without food becomes very effortless if the outside energy is conducive and supportive. If the outside energy is little depressive, you will see you will need a lot more food and the compulsions of food are strong within you. So, this is a way, but you can't suggest that to modern life, they will,